To have passion in life is everything.
What's your Everest?
Oh,
Is it
yeah.
that 200-inch buck?
They just look so impressive when they're wide.
Especially running away.
Welcome to this week's episode of Eastmans Elevated.
It's like a think tank for outdoor activity.
Sounds exactly like my hunting. Just always thinking about it, always trying to evolve it and make it better.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Yo, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new Eastmans Elevated for you. So today on the podcast, I have on Matt Tillotson. Matt's part of this new generation of hunters that are up-and-comers. He's an absolute muley fanatic, and he's killed some great bucks, both with his bow and with his rifle. And I found Matt on social media. I found one of his YouTube videos, and he went in the deep snow and killed this great buck, but just had this like next level effort, carrying a sled with all his stuff in there, and you'll hear it on the podcast, but just this next level effort. And that's what it takes to be consistently successful, is this all-in attitude. And so that's really what the podcast is about today, is just this all-in attitude, this next level effort, and how it pays off, kind of the mindset that you need, and getting comfortable with the mountains. And then, just about the enjoyment of it, the embracing the adventure of it. And it just made for this great podcast. I really enjoyed putting it together. There's some great information in here. Matt did a superb job on the podcast. And, these guys that I have on the podcast, I really connect with. Like I joke that we become instant best friends, and that's the way it was with Matt. I met him and had him on the podcast, and we have each other's numbers, and we'll keep in touch from here on out. And just a great hunter and a great human being, and I just really enjoyed this in-depth conversation, this podcast, and I think you guys will really enjoy it as well. There's great muley information in here, and just great insight into what it takes to be consistently successful. So hope you guys enjoy it. We'll get right into the show. I just want to thank a couple sponsors. I want to thank Cutter Stabilizers. I really like Cutter. Earl Stroll is the owner of it. He's got a partner as well, but he's built this company from the ground up. He built these carbon fiber bars, and these carbon fiber bars are super lightweight. And he's evolved these bars. He's evolved his connection process to make these bomb-proof bars that won't let you down. And he also has weights. He's got a sidebar attachment on it. And they're just great products. And Earl's just a blue-collar, working-class bow hunter that came up with these designs and put his own money, into these projects to evolve these and come out with these products. And so I really appreciate the support from Earl coming on Eastman's Elevated, as a sponsor. So I appreciate him, his business, and then they just have these great products. So if you're in the market for bars, they have all different lengths, the 8-inch, the 10-inch, the 12-inch, 15-inch, and now they have a 20-inch, which I'm scared to try because the longer bars I put on, I always like my hold better, and I think 15-inch out front is about my max for hunting, but just great bars, great products. And I'm running the 15-inch out front. I'm running the 12-inch in the back. I run 6 ounces out front and 10 ounces in the back, and that thing just holds. And it's also, you can affect like the reaction of your bow by changing the weights. Like if you're getting low misses, you can stack more weight on the back, and then you won't miss as low just from the reaction of the bow from the stabilizers. It's just awesome, and it's the next level of bow setups to really fine-tune your setup and get the best hold and best reaction out of it. And Cutter just builds great products for it. So make sure to check them out if you're in the market for some new bars. And thanks again to Cutter for their support. I know they're a small company with great products, and they're growing, but to step on as a sponsor for Eastman's Elevated really means the world to me. So thanks to Cutter, and thanks to Earl. I sure appreciate it. I also want to thank Black Rifle Coffee Company. Black Rifle Coffee Company has been keeping me alive throughout the hunting season. I love a cup of coffee, and I couldn't do those instants anymore, but I can do instant Black Rifle. Like it doesn't upset my stomach. It tastes really good, and so I can backpack in with these instants that you add to your coffee. They also have tea bags, and then their premium coffee, like their whole bean coffee, is just phenomenal. So I'm part of their membership where they send me a bag every month. And I absolutely love it. So not only is it keeping me alive throughout the hunting season, it's keeping me alive during all my work days as well. But just a great up-and-coming company, and for good reason. They just brew the best coffee out there. So for backpacking, check out their instant and their tea bags. For everything else and just everyday life, make sure to check out their membership subscription. And you can get a deal on it if you search Black Rifle Coffee Company /Eastmans. And go to that and put in the promo code Brian. You'll get some money off your order. So thanks again to Black Rifle Coffee Company. Just a great company, and proud to have them on board with Eastman's Elevated as well. Over at Eastman's, make sure to check out our Beyond the Grid, Eastman's Hunting TV on the Outdoor Channel, both magazines, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal, Eastman's Hunting Journal. You can get a deal on that if you put in the promo code Elevated 321. Get both magazines and an outdoor edge knife for $50. And make sure to check out Tag Hub, our internet research tool. I just did a podcast with Scott Reekers from Eastmans. It's this great podcast as he loves to hunt muleys and hunts them usually later in the rifle season. So I want to get this one out to you while we still have some seasons open out west. But in that we talk about just the research and learning units and learning different states and the opportunities out there. It's this great conversation, but in it we talk about Tag Hub and what a resource it is for Western hunters. So you can get on Tag Hub, our internet research tool, with just tons of information about all the Western states and the hunts they offer. So make sure to check that out as well. And with that, man, season's winding down. Just been working hard here and hunting hard as well. Had this great muley trip early, kind of pre-rut in my home state of Montana. I'll get on and record a podcast about it here, and just a podcast about muley season in general, but getting ready for another trip. I leave tonight and have a rut hunt. Rut's been going off. I've been keeping in touch. My good buddy Dan Heverin and good buddy Dylan Ness are hunting together right now and hunting a bunch of spots that we hunt together throughout the years. And Rut's just been fire for those guys, man. They're getting stalks and getting plays, and hopefully they come through and arrow or a buck or two. But been hearing the report for those guys, which just gets me pumped to go. And so, yeah, I've got Josiah, my cameraman's coming tonight, and we're taking off and doing wall tent, warm camp. Just got a cooler full of food, just ready to rock and roll. And this isn't just a weekend trip for me. I get to take a handful of days, so just super pumped to get in some of this rut action, with these bucks moving around and chasing does. And it's not easy, they're always moving. Other bucks are coming in. All of a sudden they'll leave the does, but they're just more active, where you see some of these big, giant, heavy horn bucks around, and they'll make some mistakes. So hoping to capitalize on that. So I've been shooting like a madman, getting all my gear ready. I'm just pumped. I mean, I'm down to, this might be my last hunt of the year. I'm not sure. We'll see if I head down to the desert in January. I got some other stuff going on, and Christmas with the family and things. But anyways, I'm just super pumped. This is a great hunt in the cold and in the snow. Temperatures are supposed to drop off, and I'm just pumped beyond belief, ready to send it. So I'm gonna get this podcast out to you guys, and I got to work today, get some windows in, and get things kind of buttoned up, and then tonight I'll be on the road going for it. So super pumped. But let's get into this podcast. It's a great one. I really enjoyed this conversation. That Matt Tillotson is an absolute muley killer and has really good insight into hunting them, and I just love his all-in, go-for-it attitude. So the perfect podcast here as we're getting into the middle or late November and hunting rut and muleys. So here we go. I'm your host, Brian Barney, Eastman's Elevated. Here we go. All right, I'm live here with Matt. I met Matt through social media. I saw his video on there, which you did a heck of a job on that video. It was on a recent Idaho hunt. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so you put together a video for this last Idaho hunt that was really good. It was like documentary style, a solo trip for you in the deep snow in the big mountains, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, I live in central Idaho and just hunt the mountains here. And like I was telling you earlier, I've never really put out any videos or anything like that. And I thought, I'm just going to document this mainly for myself because, I try and journal some of my hunts, but the video just does so much better. And I can look back on that, and it was cool. I kind of cut it down to about 10 minutes, but I think I had like an hour's worth of video on my phone, and I don't have like the greatest gear or anything, and I just kind of threw the video together. But yeah, it turned out good. It kind of, and looking back on it, it kind of documents how I hunt, and it's cool to show people, what I do, and it's just fun. I love it. I love it a lot. So.
Dude, it's super cool. The authenticity in the video, like I could really see the effort you put into it. And so like this video you had your home state of Idaho, like a deer tag, and it sounds like you really get after those deer, and you went way up high where nobody else was hunting, where there was no tracks or anything, like up in the peaks, up in 10,000 feet if I remember right, or at least 9,500. And you took your camp in there on a sled, and then you had a teepee tent with a stove in it. Those heated tents for the wintertime are just game changers, aren't they?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, I won't go back. Like once October hits and the bow season's over and that warmer weather goes away, I am in that teepee tent with that stove. I mean, it's something about it, being able to get in there, get warm, get dry, and dry your gear out and just kind of reset, especially on. So a few times I got hit this year with pretty good winter storms. Here in central Idaho, we got dumped on quite a bit, and just getting inside that tent and being able to kind of hunker down for a few hours was great. And yeah, that hunt was. It was awesome. The reason why I kind of was up in those peaks is the unit that I usually hunt had closed earlier. And so I had to actually hike through my unit to drop into the next unit. And it opens up, or it stays open till the end of October. So, I actually hiked 2 or 3 miles up over the top of that ridge to drop just into the unit I could even hunt. So, and it took a lot of effort. It was cool. It was definitely cool. That I wouldn't recommend the sled. I thought it'd be a good idea, but I got about halfway up, and I was to get up that ridge into that saddle. I had to side hill most of the way. And those sleds are really good to follow, except for when you get on a side hill. And man, it just kept pulling me to the side. And and another thing is, as backpack hunters, we use every space that we have in our backpack, but we have that limit. But in that sled, I just kept dumping stuff in there, and pretty soon I have I don't even know. It was probably like 60 pounds, 80 pounds. And I'm just a little dude. I'm like, 160 pounds myself. So trying to get that up there was pretty serious effort, but
yeah, for sure. It's amazing like how far effort goes in today's day and age. It's just like that effort and exertion just separates you from the crowds, like, and gives you a good chance of success. And that's exactly what it did on that trip. Like, you took all your gear and all your stuff in there and made it over that ridge, and then started, like, it looked like you covered some miles up on that ridge checking basins too. It didn't look like there was deer everywhere, but it looks like you finally found where they were hanging out. And when you dropped down to kill that buck, it looked like there was a lot of tracks in there.
Yeah. So, if I can back up a little bit, I got kind of a backstory on this.
Yeah.
So I had Tuesday through Friday off, and I work a regular job, like most guys, and so took some vacation, and I started out Tuesday with the intention of just taking my camp in there and dropping over the backside and being able to locate some bucks and get a good feel for what's in there. And I got about the drive's about a couple hours from my house, and I got in there and my radiator had blown up on my truck, and I got a rock up in there, and all my antifreeze was all out on the snow, and it was starting to overheat, and I was like, oh crap, that's a great way to start the hunt. But so there was a guy up there who hauled me out, and then my wife and my boys took me back in to get my truck. So I kind of blew a day on that. And then the next morning I was like, I want to be in there so bad, like, first light, just to locate those bucks. And so I got up at 3:00, and I had put some JB Weld on my radiator, and it held, luckily. That I drove my old 96 Ford 7.3 up there, and got up there about 4:30-ish, somewhere in there, and hiked up over the top of that mountain the day before that I had started doing the video. And, just like we as deer hunters know, mule deer hunters, if you don't know there's bucks in there, if you don't know there's deer, I don't spend, I go in, if there's deer, great. If not, I bail out. But I just wanted to know if there was any deer, because I had never actually been in that bowl before. And so I dropped down on this ridge at this vantage point and started scanning elevations. And the way that I kind of do it later in October when there's snow is I just take an elevation on topography and just scan that elevation all the way across the bowl. And then if I don't see tracks or anything like that, I just come down 500 feet and come back. And I just work kind of a grid on the way down. And I ended up hitting them about 8,200 is where those bucks were kind of laying, and started picking up tracks. And anyways, it was cool. I was able to locate a bunch of bucks in there with that buck I ended up killing. And but the bad thing was I had to hike out. So I made a couple trips over that mountain in 24 hours, So I had hiked out, and I came home and got my gear, loaded it back up. And then the next morning, that's when I did the serious effort hunt there. And yeah, it was great, man. The story's kind of told on YouTube, but there's the little details. I just wanted to capture the authenticity of like really giving it 100% and what it feels like. And some of the details I actually left out, because when I killed that buck in the bottom, I loaded it up and I had to snowshoe over the top to drop down in there. And by the time I hit the ridge, it was midnight. And then I still had about 2 miles up the ridge and drop into a basin and then go up a saddle. And it was really late before I got back, but man, it was so worth it packing that big deep timber buck out of there. I just love that. It filled my cup for the year. I'm good. So
dude,
it was so fun.
Yeah, it fit in like a great adventure. Yeah, it's wild. Like we're never sure what the challenges are going to be on a hunt, but we just know there's going to be challenges. And like having your rock go through your radiator, like stuff like that happens all the time, whether it's, like I had my dirt bike breakdown last year, or the truck breakdown, or flat tires, or whatever. It's like there can always be issues. Like I've had I did a hunt in Idaho one time when I drove down there, and the first place I shut off my truck, and then my truck wouldn't start, and my battery decided to die on that time where I stopped my truck, So it's like,
oh my gosh,
you're never
yeah.
sure what the challenges are going to be. You're like, this year, we got this huge snowstorm in the valley and pushed the elk around pretty good, and it was good elk hunting. And gosh, I just buried my truck in a snowdrift, and it took me half the day to be able to get out of there and get chains on and get back to the highway. And I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to get back to the highway or hunt those elk I had found, because of those unforeseen challenges that didn't have anything to do with hunting. They were just about getting there. So absolutely always an adventure, And then that's wild. You went did like a scouting trip or like a pre-trip in there and found those bucks before you brought your camp in. So it can be so advantageous to go in light. I just love traveling country light. And sometimes that's day hunting like you did, but you end up covering a ton of miles and actually making more work for yourself. But you get to figure out if there's deer in there, if it's worth packing your camp all the way in. Or a lot of times I'll hunt with my camp on my back, but I'll just go super ultra light, 30 pounds, and I won't have any of the comforts of a nice camp or anything. I'm just trying to cover country and find him. But that covering country to look for those things is so advantageous to be able to go light, just like you did, finding all those tracks and knowing those bucks were in there and knowing it was worth it to take your camp in there.
Absolutely. I agree 100% that, I have an advantage I live right in the middle of the mountains where I hunt. And so I can, before the time change, it gets dark early now, but, earlier in the year, I can get off work and be at a vantage point within 2 hours, and I have these, I have my locations and stuff that I go to, and I can be there and see what's in there in an evening and just go for it, cover country. And it's hard. I try and pride myself in being in shape and being able to just go for it. But it really does pay off, without 100% committing to one canyon or one bowl. I just like riding a ridge, finding bucks, keeping an inventory, and trying to put that hit list together, But I love going light. It's hard to go light when it gets colder, There's a lot more gear, but
yep.
But you guys, with that high country early stuff, and I've really been trying to get into that too a lot more. Is I really admire you guys just take off and go. I mean, just go forever. You have your camp, and it really does pay off in the end.
Yeah, it does. Living close to where you hunt, that is a major advantage. And two, you're not planning all your hunting time in 1 week. You don't have a 7-day window that you need to get it done. Here in Montana, a lot of our archery season is 6 weeks, and then our rifle season is 5 weeks. And so I have a chance to go hunt hard for 3-4 days in a weekend, and then go back to work and kind of reset, and then go back out for another 3-4 days. But the whole reason I killed a bull this year in my home valley was I could just keep tabs on them, like you're talking about.
Absolutely,
yeah. I can go out the mornings before work and the evenings after work, and even I like to hike and get to a vantage point and see what's in there. But if I'm working that week, sometimes I don't have time where I'll just go set up on a vantage point and just see what's around. And it seems like one of the biggest challenges is just finding them. Deer populations and elk populations, they're not spread out all the way through country. They have pockets of country where their numbers get condensed, where they really and so you've got to cover a lot of country with your eyes and with your feet to be able to find those spots where they prefer and where they like. And then you go in and you go hunt them, and you find a great big dark timber buck like that one you found, But
Yeah.
it's It's super cool, and like you talked about being in good shape and being able to travel country, which is a huge advantage for us guys. Like, we know because these big mountains take so much out of us to be able to climb up and to be able to cover country in them. But a lot of that is on the mental side of things too, isn't it? It's being in good shape, but it's having that drive to keep going, or like you, that drive to take a 60, 80-pound sled into that country and set up your camp. Like a lot of it is mental, don't you agree?
I agree. I totally. I couldn't agree more. Some of the if I could just say something to anybody, I have some guys that get a hold of me and talk to me, and some of my friends are just getting into mule deer hunting, and that's kind of my thing. Like that's all I focus on. They think I'm nuts because we have giant bulls here in this unit I'm in, and I'm just so focused on deer. They don't really, it doesn't affect me too much. But the one thing that I do tell guys about the mule deer is you got to be able to be comfortable in the mountain. Like that is the mental side that I just you got to be able to be comfortable being out there, being alone, being in the dark, being basically just living like a buck. And that's something that I've just, my dad has kind of instilled that in me when I was 7 or 8 years old. He took me to elk hunting, and he's a pretty hardcore guy. I mean, he said, Matt, you're kind of on your own this morning. Go look for elk, and he'd be like, we're gonna go check this ridge out. You just hang out here and wait for us. And I learned to be alone, and learned to tinker around with the logs and go find streams and just be able to be comfortable. And you know what? Looking back, maybe he did that on purpose. Maybe he kind of was teaching me how to just be part of the mountain. And it really is a mental game. You start thinking about the boogeyman at night, all that kind of stuff, and you just have to get past all that, and then you can really focus on while you're there. And that's to kill big bucks for me, Yeah, and, man. I get all wound up talking about it because I just love it so much. I mean, the passion is there, and that's kind of, why I just go for it because I only have, 4 or 5 weeks to make it happen. And I just give it the best I can. But
dude, that's what it takes. Spot on. Like, I love what you're saying about being comfortable in the mountains. And I think that just comes with time, like spending time in the mountains, paying your dues in the mountains. And you have to get comfortable with it, like comfortable with handling uncomfortable situations, whether that's the weather that comes in, the snowstorms, whether that's the lightning, whether just the remoteness and being in the woods. And it doesn't feel natural at first, and it's not like and I'm a muley guy just like you. It's not like guys like us don't have fear. We do have fear. We do think about it in the middle of the night. Like courage is not being afraid of anything. Courage is being afraid and doing it anyways. Courage is overcoming those adversities and overcoming those challenges. And so, yeah, it's like we both have families at home and wives at home, and yeah, we don't want to fall off a cliff and have it be the end of us, but you start to realize that you like this adventure in your life, and that the wilderness and the mountains offer something that you don't get out of everyday life, driving to work and putting in your time. It just offers us like this unnerved world, where your decisions directly affect your safety, and we get to liken it and embrace it, but you're right, like when you say you have to get comfortable with the mountains. Like, I think that's such a great point. And I think it's just experience, is spending time back there in the mountains. And like I even feel like I trail run to train for the mountains, but that means like, and I'm really fortunate too, where I live, right in a valley, surrounded by mountain peaks, surrounded by 10,000 foot peaks in country that I love to hunt. And so like I can be to a trailhead in 20 minutes, or I can be to some canyons and coulees in 15 minutes and get in this trail run. And I always feel like it's it's paying my dues to the mountains, and it's like being in the mountains 365. And like for me, it's not about the miles, it's about the elevation, getting comfortable with climbing up and down, having
absolutely.
no
Yeah.
uphill or no elevation that scares me, like just getting that day in, day out. But even though I'll only be in the mountains for an hour or two a day, I'm there every day. I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to, we've got grizzly bears around in our wildernesses, and they're around when we're running, but you just you get in tune and you get comfortable with the mountains, and you're right. The mountains can chase you away pretty easy, or you can get inside your own head worried about, a grizzly bear getting you, or, you just think, gosh, there's no bucks around, or it's easy to talk yourself out of it. But when you keep putting forth effort, that's when it pays off. And just like you did this season, you said you have a few weeks to fill your tag. You just keep putting forth effort, and it doesn't turn out every time. Like, you don't find bucks every place you go, and some of these big backpacking trips, I'll go for days and I won't even see a buck. Like, I know in Montana, I wanted to kill a high country mule deer in Montana, and it's not that easy. We don't have a lot of mountain ranges. Like, the elk outcompete the deer in a lot of our mountain ranges, and their rock tops. I mean, I think I had to go scout 10 different mountain ranges before I finally found a mountain range where there was a lot of mule deer bucks where I could, had a feasible chance at being able to bow hunt one, And so, it's a lot of striking out, but it's just that mental fortitude, and just like you said, getting comfortable with the mountains.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I kind of found something pretty cool this year. So you talk about, being instinctive and, kind of that primitive thought process. And I was thinking about that this year quite a bit. And I ended up finding, so my buddy and I had killed a buck, a nice, 170 buck with his bow. He shot it at 6 yards off a cliff, which was the coolest thing ever.
How cool.
Super, super sweet. And anyways, I was excited for him. It's his biggest buck, and we went up there and got it all, taken care of, and got it all packed on the back. And as we were heading down, we're just coming off this ridge, and we had headlamps on, and I looked down and I found an old arrowhead, an arrowhead with a busted tip. And, you're on public ground, you're supposed to leave them, but I picked it up and took a little video of it. And we kind of had a cool moment there because, we as primitive beings, we were hunting for food, but I'm sure there has got to be a few guys that were up there, hey, that's a big one with horns, let's try and poke that one, or whatever. And it was really cool to see just the technology changes and all that, but it kind of goes back to being comfortable on the mountain, just, it's almost like you just got to be more instinctive and go to that primitive, thought process. And then the next day, or it was 2 more days after that, we were elk hunting for my buddy, cause he had an elk tag here. And, we were up on the ridge, and I sat down and I was glassing across this basin, and I put my hand down, and there was another arrowhead, and I couldn't believe it. It was it was the craziest thing. I've never found one in my life, and they are here in these mountains quite a bit, but there was another one, and I've got it documented on video. It's really cool, but for some reason this year's been, kind of getting back to my roots and just thinking about being more instinctive when I hunt, and it's really paid off. I was able to kill a buck with my bow with my boys, a real nice 4-point. I ended up picking up that new V3 Matthews, which is sweet. It is the coolest bow. I went with the 27. I know you go with the 31, but I love that compact setup on that bow, and ended up killing a buck with that. And then this deep timber buck that I have the video on, I was thinking about that almost the whole time. It's just Matt, you can do this, man. This is hard, and it's gonna wear you out. It's gonna be, but you can make this happen. And another thing, as I was hiking back up, I got to the ridge, and it was just pitch black. And I was so exhausted by that point that I took 20 steps and I had to just sit down, and I'd look up at the stars, and then I'd get back up and hike a little bit further and then sit down. And it's not easy getting back up with an 80-pound pack or whatever it was. But as I was looking at the stars, I picked out the constellation Orion. And I don't know if you know what that is, but it's kind of like a mythical hunter. And man, I don't know what, it hit me pretty hard. Just like, we as hunters, we're doing something that is just an amazing feat, and it's brought us with all this technology now. The world is just speeding up, but man, that's what got us here is hunting, gathering and all that stuff. And it's cool to be part of it, and kind of go back to that.
Man, super cool. Yeah, finding those arrowheads of our ancestors that were doing the exact same thing we were doing, or we're doing in there. Like I found a couple, I found a couple like in this canyon by my place, and it's gosh, I can't remember the name of it right now. I'm drawing a blank, but it's this huge canyon that the Madison River runs down through, and in this canyon, Bear Trap Canyon. So in this canyon, there's all these cliffs that go down to the river, and I found this one arrowhead that was laying right in a deer bed down there. And so I'm sure back in the day, it was a sheep bed, and I'm sure that Indian was shooting at that sheep and maybe busted his tip or the arrowhead buried in the ground, and then I found it there, like walking around with my bow.
Oh my gosh!
And like,
have you found any of those the blinds? There's a few of them around here, but yeah, they're still around. But yeah, that's so cool, man. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no worries. No, it is like this connection with our ancestors that we're doing the same thing that we were doing. And just like, I think like packing your buck out, you're in this state of exhaustion, but also exhilaration. Like, what else in life pushes you to your absolute limits like that? And walking up that hill and taking 20 steps and having to sit down, like you absolutely did, maybe what you didn't even think was possible at the time, but you just kept pushing and you got it done, and to have like a passion like that drives us, that pushes us to our mental and physical barriers and beyond, is amazing, and you're right. Like, our ancestors, hunting is the whole reason why we're here, is them being able to outthink and outplay their quarry, like outsmart those animals and put a good arrow in them, and then be able to bring home that meat to their families and feed their families and keeping them alive. And really, like, that's, our real advantage of hunters is like, is our minds, and to be able to think and to be able to theorize and to be able to outplay those animals, because we don't have teeth and claws and can't jump on their back, but to come up with these weapons. And even though technology has changed, and even though we have these advantages, there's also more competition nowadays. And so the animals are pretty savvy as well, but it just still takes this next level effort. And it still takes like using our brain power, using, and you talked about the instincts, like you're right, like honing these hunting instincts and being able to trust in them, to go to like this flow state where you're almost not like, you're not breaking down consciously thinking of every decision you're making. You're just reacting to the situation at which you're given, and you keep like adapting to that situation, because you may make the best plan to kill a buck, and you're going to come over the top and come to this rock and come to this tree and shoot him from there, but you get over there and it's way different, and maybe you can't see that entire buck's body, or maybe you realize that, oh, the wind switched over on this side of the canyon, I got to come farther right now. And so you're like constantly adapting, but you're like getting in this flow state. And in this flow state, you're not thinking about anything else in life. You're thinking about hunting and trying to kill that buck. And it's extremely challenging, And so like when you're immersed in that, you can't think about anything else. And being immersed in that, I mean, that's just as good as it gets. Like, for guys like me and you, and for the guys that listen to this podcast, it just doesn't get any better than being able to make a play and being able to like match wits with, these animals that have evolved from thousands of years from avoiding predators, us included, and mountain lions, and, which are way stealthier than we can ever be, it's like, but it's just such a killer game that we played, and it's tied directly to our ancestors, and I believe that's too what buck fever is, like getting so excited to get this opportunity and this chance. Like, I think it's tied directly to our ancestors, trying to kill that buck to bring it home to their families, or trying to kill that deer, that sheep, or whatever it is. Like, that excitement, I don't get that from anything else in life, but I sure get it from hunting.
I do too. It's something, like you said before, it's something that you just, like, you have to experience it to understand. And, so for me, I'm not a very good shot with my bow at a target. And my buddy, it drives him crazy, because he's like, man, how can you kill these giant bucks? I've got 8 bucks on the wall that are close to, 180 plus, a couple 4 200s, whatever. And I've killed them all, most of them with a bow. And he goes, how the heck can you make that happen, man? And you're, and when I see you shoot, you're just not like, you're just kind of, anyways, you're shooting good, but you're just like, I don't feel like you're like that professional guy, and I was like, I'm not. And I said, this is what happens. Once I get to that point where I drew my bow or I pull that scope up, it becomes instinctual. And he goes, I don't believe that, and I was, we just joke back and forth with each other. And on this buck he killed this year, he snuck down on top of it. And, actually, so the first shot on it, ended up, he snuck down and it kind of blew out of there quick. And he goes, man, I saw that he hit it and anyways, and ended up killing it. And when I got up to him, I said, what happened, man? He blew out of there super fast. And he goes, Matt, I drew back on that buck and I could see he was coming through, and all of a sudden he just took off, and my instincts just kind of took over. And he's like, I got buck fever. And I let that arrow go, just instinctual, and it just met its mark. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about, man. Like, you have to be in the moment. You got to experience that over and over again to get good at it. And it's also, controlling those emotions and nerves and all that. But it's really, it's a cool thing when you can get to that point where you almost recognize the opportunity as it's coming, as that big buck's walking to you, or, that cliff ledge is right there and he's underneath it. And it just becomes a natural thing once you've got that. But
dude, it's like that that kill switch, it's,
the kill switch.
And some guys, it takes time. Like, anybody can develop it, but yeah, there's certain guys that have it in spades for sure. Like that kill switch, that decision making during crunch time, and like you say, being able to control your emotions. And I like to stay present in the moment, but you also can't think about every decision you're making. You have to make 100 right decisions to have it all go right. And so, like again, it comes down to those instincts and making those good decisions, but not really thinking through them at all. You're just reacting to the situation at which you're given. But yeah, dude, that's super impressive. Those bucks you've been able to harvest over the years. And like a big part of being able to harvest those bucks is being clutch in the moment, and clutch in the moment on your shot, clutch in the moment on your stalk. Like there's 100 ways that we can screw up those encounters, in which, you know, I probably accomplished all of them at one point or
Yeah,
another.
we
But
all have, right?
I think like failure is a prerequisite, and you do make mistakes, but you know, being able to trust your instincts and make those moves inside that crunch time, and also you know, keep composed and not make any of the major mistakes, you know. And you're right, is it just takes time. And I think you know, some of us are given more or have it a little bit more than other guys from the start, but I also think it's a developed skill, and the more time that you get in range with animals, the more time you get comfortable with it, the more shots that you get, I think the better you get at it. So like all those big bucks, I'm sure you've probably screwed up just as many throughout your years, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, so this is the pre-story to even the pre-story. So early July, just like most of the mule deer hunters around, and you included, we're out looking for bucks that we know that are going to become big bucks. And that's kind of how I've killed quite a few of these bigger bucks that I've shot. Is I go out, I locate them, I learn about them, I learn where they're feeding, I learn their bedding areas, all of that. And over that next couple months, and then August 30th comes around, and I'm right on top of them, ready to make it happen. And I ended up finding a good 180 buck this year, and same situation. I found him July 17th, and I visit him every day. I mean, that was my routine, just go and visit him. I knew everything about him. I knew when it's a storm, this is usually where he's going to head to, just everything about him. If he ever got bumped by anybody or whatever, I could tell where his kind of escape routes were, and he'd take off for 3 or 4 days and then come back to his beds. And I knew the bucks he was with, everything. And anyways, that was my routine. And for the last 5 years, that's been what's happened. Is I do this, and then August 30th comes around, and I'd end up killing them, or the 31st, or hopefully within that first few days before they get any pressure. And this year was a little different. I ended up a few times getting in range, and it just wasn't right. And I'd have to bury my head down in the brush and, let him walk by or lay there with him, 60 yards away until midnight, and then try and work my way out or whatever. But ended up getting a shot at him, and I missed him. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I missed. And it kind of shook me up, like I listened to your podcast on the Colorado hunt, and man, it did the same to me. I got shook up for a couple weeks, and my confidence, and that failure it hit me pretty hard, because I'd been pretty blessed the previous couple years to make it happen. And it was good for me, because I realized, those animals are extremely smart, and it doesn't always happen, and there's good things that come from failures for sure. But I ended up missing him. I looked for him. I blew him out. I mean, he was gone, and I looked for him for a couple weeks, and then I had got word that he had got killed. And so I kind of moved on. And anyways, the day before the rifle opener here in Idaho, you get about a 10-day break, between September 30th and August 10th when the rifle opens. And the day before the rifle opener, I'm out, looking around, and I just so happened to kind of return to the area he had been, and he was there again. Like, I couldn't believe it. I thought he had died. I thought he was out of the country. He was gone, and he was there with his buddies back again. And, lesson learned for me. I mean, there we go again. Those bucks, they're going to come home eventually. And if they don't die or a cat kills them or something like that, they're going to be back. And I should have just kept focus on that area. But, I threw a game plan together super quick. I mean, I knew there was going to be guys all over that mountain or around that area and, in that spot. And, anyways, I did the best I could. I got in there, got within rifle range and sure enough, there he was, this big old buck coming towards me. And I mean, it was perfect. And I get kind of set up and ready, and he just had to come, like a couple 100 yards around this deal. And I heard a shot go off. A rifle goes off right in front of me. And man, my heart just dropped. And sure enough, I pulled my binos up and that sucker's hunched up. He's all hunched up when you get a shot in him. And he runs about 30 yards and tips over dead, and so not only did I miss him, but then somebody else kills him, right in front of me. And, I had a decision to make if I was going to, throw a fit about it and be frustrated or buck up and move on, and I decided, just to be the better man. And I walked over there and I found the guy, and he was an older gentleman, and it was the biggest buck he's ever killed. And he was just ecstatic about it. And I walked up to him and I said, "Man, you got him. Good job. I'm so excited for you." And he looked at me like I was crazy, and he told me later, he goes, "Man, I would have been so upset if I had told him the story. I'd watched him since July 17th or whatever." He goes, "I would have been so upset at anybody else if that would have happened. Why are you okay with this?" And I kind of showed him some pictures of the bucks I'd killed, and I said, this is special for you, but he was cool enough to let me put a tape on it and, get some pictures, and I helped him take care of it and haul it off, and it worked out really cool. But anyways, I mean, yeah, the failures, a lot of us, social media and, just talking about stuff. We like to talk about successes, but there's a lot of failures and disappointments that come along, and we have to fight through it. That's actually why this buck I killed, it meant so much to me, because it was kind of a rebound, and it was a proving grounds for me to get back on the mountain and prove to myself that, I can make it happen on bucks. I'm good at this. And it just fueled that drive that I've got to kill big bucks. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not always a perfectly green on the other side. There's disappointments and failures on all of us, even the best of us,
Man, so true. Man, so many good takeaways from what you said, Matt. I love that you attribute a lot of your success to your scouting, to finding these bucks. It's being a mule deer hunter, it's a year-round pursuit. It isn't just that 4 or 5 week season. That's our time to get it done, but it's a year-round pursuit of making sure that that we're fit and able to get in those mountains. And then that summer scouting is so important. And a lot of the big bucks I've killed have been because of scouting, or two, you get to learn new areas. You get to learn, like you were saying, you have your go-to spots, and I'm always looking for new spots, and I love going to new places and figuring it out and scouting new places, but I can always return to these honey holes that I know bucks like to live in, that I know bucks reside in, and kind of see what's going on around there. And just the time you spent with that buck, and the time that you've spent with a lot of the bucks you've killed, to learn their behaviors and their beds and where they disappear to, and to learn like that's where mule deer hunting is different from elk hunting. Like mule deer really have a home range that they like, and there's different parts of the seasons, and they will move from those areas, but they like those home ranges, and they return back to them, just like that buck returned back to his home range that he was living at, all summer long, and he was back in there for that October rifle season. They get really good at living in small locations, and not every buck's the same. Like some bucks you'll find that'll live in a 300-yard square area or just one timber patch, and then they've got their meadow they feed in, and they live in one basin. But then you'll find a different group of bucks that'll work 2 or 3 drainages that have their beds in each one of those drainages and their cover in each one of those drainages. And like every mule deer, just like every person, has a personality. And you get to know his personality, and you get to know the bucks that he runs with, and where they prefer to bed when they're in this drainage and they go up high and they go up in this timber. But a lot of us killing these big deer is learning these big deer, and even on the hunt, like learning just their behaviors and what they're doing. It isn't just finding a big buck and running after him and sticking him with an arrow. It's learning these behaviors and trying to find like a chink in the armor, trying to find a place where you can get the better of that buck, or when he beds in a good spot that you can approach, So I just think that's so important what you stated. Your year-round pursuit of mule deer is definitely why you kill big ones. And then, like, I love your stories about failure because, yeah, I mean, I think failure is a prerequisite, and it happens to all of us. And the guys that are more successful have just failed more. Guys like me and you have failed
absolutely.
Every different way from Sunday, and we learn from it, and it hardens us. But it's also our perspective on it. It's our perspective on it, just like that buck that guy killed that you had been watching and hunting, and you thought you had him, and he's walking right to you. Like you say, you had a choice there, and sure, you could have thrown a tantrum and been really upset, and I'm sure I've been there throughout the years, a time or two, but you just learn throughout time that there's gonna be failure, and like if you just accept it and move on, like you're gonna be better in the end. So you're happy for that hunter, you make him have a positive experience, and you know what? Like that's really good karma, and not that that's the reason why you killed that buck, the next buck you killed, but still it's good karma, and you don't let it eat at you, and then I also love like what you said about proving grounds and going back into that, deep into that unit. I mean, that snow was brutal. You covered a bunch of miles, and like you say, you're trying to get back on the horse. And it's funny, even a guy like you that's killed so many big deer with his bow, with his rifle, it's like, next year's deer doesn't know all the deer you've killed, or this buck that you killed this year, like it doesn't know your reputation or that you're a big buck killer. Like you have to prove it all over again, time after time. Like to kill a big deer is great, but next season it doesn't give you any advantage over that deer that you're hunting. Like you have to go out and make the right moves and the right decisions to put yourself in range and put another good arrow in that buck or locate another good deer, and so. Like it is like this proving grounds that even though we've had a lot of successes in our life, it's still like every season it takes this iron mindset and this never quit attitude, and then back to those instincts. It just takes these instincts to be able to get in there and prove it again. But man, doesn't it feel good? Like it's so challenging and so tough every year, every deer I've killed. But man, it sure feels good, like when you climb the mountain and get it done and outsmart one of those big dark horn bucks. Like there's just no better feeling on planet Earth, and it's cool that it requires so much of us. It requires like full dedication. Like you have to love it because you're gonna have to put in a lot of work. You're gonna fail a lot, and if you're in it, if you're not in it for the right reasons, you're going to get burned out, and success isn't going to come. But if you're in it for the right reasons and you love the process and love being in the mountains and love the challenge, then I think success is inevitable.
I agree that, so I've killed a lot of bucks, a lot of big bucks. I mean, I shoot for 180 pluses. That's my goal. But I do not overlook deer in certain experiences, in certain situations, because every deer is different, like you're talking about, and every experience is different as well. And so, I'm not always seeking score, I'm just, don't let score drive you. Let the experience drive you. And I've got a 7 or 8, 150 to 160 bucks that were just, it was the experience that got me there. And, I appreciate that, we can think that way too, that it's cool to kill a 190 or a 211 or 200, but in the end, you come home and it's the achievement of killing that buck, and making it happen and being, just giving it all you got. And it doesn't matter if it's a 150 or a 230. Well, let me back up there. It does matter, but it's the experience too, and you going back to that's dropping into that canyon. It's so a lot of bucks act similar, so when I had located that buck the day before, he was in a timber patch. He was bedded right on the edge of the timber patch, and I could tell it was 80, somewhere in the 8,000 range, 8,200. And I could tell that that was his home. Like that timber patch right there. It was dark draw. He had water right below him. There were some willows down there in the bottom. He had an open hillside. It was a south facing slope. I mean, I could tell at that point that's where he lived, and I could see the tracks all around it. And, so I think success just ends up breeding success. Like I could kind of feel that was where he was going to end up, even the next day, or probably he would have probably been there for a couple weeks until the snow pushed him out. But it was cool to be able to kind of fall back on that. So I dropped in that canyon, and I probably would have killed him the day before, except I was cliffed out below me. I had climbed through a saddle about a mile and a half up the ridge over the top and dropped down, which was super sketchy on snowshoes. I mean, that side hill was so steep, and I actually cut out once or twice, and it was sketchy, but I got out on that vantage point and found him. And I found him, it was about 4:00 when I found him, and I was like, I'm going for it right now. Like I'm dropping off here. And I going down right off in front of me, and I was all cliffed out. So I was trying for that night to kill him, but that would have been a rough night too, because I would have had to hike him clear back to the truck. I didn't have a camp up there that night. But yeah, I mean, we get the fall, it's an all year pursuit, but we get those when we can carry that tag and it's legal to kill, we got to be ready for it mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. And it was cool for me to prove to myself again that I could do that. And, just go to total exhaustion. So it was neat. And I enjoy, listening to other hunters' experiences. Talking to you and kind of getting more into the social world, social media, Instagram. I've had a lot of opportunities talking to guys, and everybody seems to be able to bond in that manner, is that we all fail. we all work hard and we all fail in the end. And then we all have successes, and we can, kind of come together in that. It's just really neat. But
yeah, come together and celebrate it. It's such a good crowd of like-minded people. And like you, I haven't been on social media forever. Maybe the last few years, 5 years, 6 years, something like that. But it's this amazing community, where it's supportive and like you say, you get to celebrate other people's successes, and you know what it takes to be successful, and it takes this iron mindset and this next level effort, like what you put forth. And so when you see somebody succeed, to be able to watch, your video, like this documentary style video of your trials and tribulations up there above timberline, like in the deep snow, with nobody else around. And that TP10 is such a game changer for late season. Like we started talking about, like having that stove and a warm tent, it just makes you feel human at night and able to get warmed up. And I know it's changed the game for me for late season for sure. Being able to backpack where others can't when it gets cold, and cold takes a different kind of toughness too. It's really raw, and it's tough to keep warm, and especially out west. Like anytime you stop, you don't get to sit on a comfortable vantage point for hours on end and be warm. Like that just isn't the scenario, and so it takes like this different toughness and this different mindset. And a lot of times, we are putting our safety in danger. We are gambling it, but we rely upon these mountain instincts that we've honed. Like I know I can keep myself safe in the mountains. You can keep yourself safe in the mountains, and so we're able to keep pushing. But gosh, you just you're right. When like fall comes once a year, it just takes this constant effort, and you don't see deer everywhere you go, and it's easy to talk yourself out of it, and it's easy to think about the comforts of your house or the comforts of a warm truck and head back and throw in the towel. But when you've tasted that success, when you've climbed that mountain, like then you're willing to go through that to the other side. You're willing to be out there in the cold. You're willing to hike throughout the night and put in that headlamp work because you know what those feelings of success feel like, and you're willing to put forth the effort to find it again. But it does just take constant effort, and fall comes and goes quick, and those these hunts come and go quick. Our days off comes and goes quick, to where you really have to make the most of it and put out maximum effort. And these big mature mule deer, they're tough to find. They tighten up their programs. They don't show themselves much during daylight hours the later in the season. Of course, that changes once the rut hits. But it takes like a next level effort. Like I just arrowed a buck like a week ago or so, and I was hunting the prairies, and out there in the prairies, like they can get 180 inches, but a lot of times these big mature 5-year-old, 6-year-old deer will be 160, and I'm fine with, like you were saying, the experience. Like those bucks get me excited out there, especially when they've got the big bodies and the sway back and the belly and the Roman nose, But out there, it's general rifle season right now, and it's tough. There's a lot of guys going hard, but I'm able to backpack back in there. But it's almost mind-bending, like the miles that I have to put on out there to be able to find my own oasis that, I can hunt them with a bow back there and try to get a good arrow in them, And so, it's just every fall, every hunt. Like you just I think you said buck up or cowboy up or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Like you just man, you just got to get your mind right and just go, this is my chance. And whether I kill a buck or not, I'm going to put forth maximum effort every day, every morning, every night. Like I'm just not going to give in to the comforts, I'm not going to give in to the truck or to a heater or to it. I am going to keep it pushing.
I'm just grinding it.
I think that's what it takes, man, is that grinder's mindset. It never seems like these bucks come easy, and it seems like they always take this next level effort. And that's exactly what you displayed on that hunt in the mountains, and why I connected with your video so much, I think.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Dude, I think I saw a picture of that buck you killed. Didn't you put one on Instagram or something like that? A picture?
Yep.
But yeah, that's a great buck, man. And I admire that you go out in the general weapon season and take your bow, and and maybe I'll get to that point. We'll see. But it's been great, and I just love man, mule deer is the coolest thing. I mean, it's a great passion, and it's a great hobby and sport, and we look forward to it, and it's cool to get to know people,
Dude, amen. Yeah, we're all on our own journey, and Central Idaho is no easy place to hunt either, man. I mean, it's not like you guys have bucks running around everywhere. Like you've got good mule deer and good mule deer populations, but dude, you got to hunt hard there, and big mountains are tough.
Yeah. I have a lot of guys, hey, I want to come to Central Idaho. Can you give me any tips? And I just say, you know what? get in shape, man, because you're going to be hiking your butt off for basins and basins and basins, because there's not a lot of deer here, but there are some gems, and I've been able to kill a few, and it's cool. Just give it effort, and it'll come.
Man, that's the best advice you could give. Give it effort. Yeah, and that's totally it. And pay your dues. Like you just the more you hunt mule deer, the better you get at hunting mule deer. The better you get
Yes.
to know them and know the species. And yeah, you have to look a lot of places where they're not before you start finding those places there are. But if you fall in love with the process, there's no doubt you will get good at it. But you just have to spend time doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Well, dude, Matt, it's been really fun connecting with you. Can you believe we already talked for an hour?
We have already, man. we could do this for all night. This is great.
Yeah, well, we do have to do it again. You're such a muley fanatic. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. Like this is made for a great podcast. So yeah, we got to do it again. I'm gonna hit you up here in another month or two. You got any more hunts coming up?
Yeah, so I'm not packing a tag anymore, but my dad, he drew a third season Colorado, so we're headed down there.
Ooh, good for you guys.
It took him 14 years to get, so we're looking for a big dog down there. Hopefully,
Wow,
it'll be
you've
fun.
got a good third season tag then.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one, and he's already actually down there right now, and he's been riding the horses around the unit, learning it, and I'm going to be coming down. I think I'm leaving Friday afternoon, and it opens Saturday, so we're gonna give it. We're gonna find a big one, I hope. So,
dude, super cool. Has he been seeing some bucks down there?
Yeah, well, I haven't talked to him. He sent me a spot earlier yesterday, I guess, saying he was okay. And when my dad says an okay, it's that's about all I get. So who knows? He could be seeing giants. I don't know.
Dude, that's a tough generation, isn't it? They just built those men
my
different.
gosh.
Like and I definitely want to emulate it as the same as you do, but man, they built that generation tough, didn't they?
They are tough. They are, it's if we could be like them and with the technology we have now, we'd have twice as many bucks on the wall, I feel. They're just tough people, just tough guys.
Absolutely. Well, good on you, dude. That ought to be a really fun hunt to go try to help your dad find a slammer. And sounds like he's been waiting on that tag for a while. So you guys will have fun down there. How many days you going for?
I gotta go. I gotta be back. I've used most of my vacation already, so
I feel you there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
I'll be back. I'm driving through the night Tuesday to be back Wednesday morning to go to work. So yeah, but 4 days, 4 or 5 days. So hopefully we can get it done. He's kind of he's killed some giant bucks too. I mean, I've learned from him. And so he's holding out for a big one. He told me so I killed a 211 and I beat him because his biggest one before that was 207 or 208 or whatever. He goes, I'm beating you this year, man. So we're going to try and beat 211, but that's going to be a tough one to try and beat. So we'll see.
That's a big deer, but a lot of killing a big deer is like knowing what a big deer is and having a few of those big ones under your belt where you can pass up because 180 on the head looks giant, and that's tough for any of us mule deer hunters to pass, but to know what a big one is and have a few under your belt, like that's when you can really start to push that envelope and kill some of those giants. So yeah, good on you guys. Well, I'll be pulling for you. Matt, again, I've really enjoyed the conversation. We have to keep in touch.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks
right.
for having me.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Again, just fun conversation with Matt. I really enjoyed that. Just one of that next generation, those up and comers, that get to I mean, I guess I'm get to learn from us guys, and just evolve the process and get better and better. But that guy goes all in, man. I mean, hunting that Idaho backcountry is not easy, and he consistently produces good bucks. just psyched to get new guests on the podcast as well, and be able to have these new conversations. So yeah, I'm just pumped. I really appreciate the support from you guys. Listening in each and every week means the world to me. So thanks again for the support. Thanks to Eastmans for their support. Make sure to check out everything we have going on with our Beyond the Grid TV shows, Eastman's Hunting TV on the Outdoor Channel. Check out both magazines, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal, Eastman's Hunting Journal. Again, the promo code for that is Elevated321. And our internet research tool, Tag Hub, and then also, this podcast. Thanks so much for checking this out, subscribing to it. The reviews really do wonders to help promote the podcast, and we're just still growing, slowly but surely. We're still growing, which just means the world to me that that this is a success. We're in our 6th year now as a podcast. Just can't believe it. Time's just flown by. But I just want to continue to work hard for you guys and bring you guys the best content I can. So thanks again to Matt for being on the podcast. Really enjoyed it. Man, with that, I'm loading up this bow and all my gear and get in some work today. Got to put in this big 16-foot wide by 8-foot tall slider. It's like a 4-panel big slider. So I got to go figure that thing out, get that put in. We're trying to get this house kind of watertight for the winter. It's only summertime access. So try to wrap this up, get the guys all lined out, and rock and roll. I'm going to be chasing rut and bucks with my bow. It just doesn't get any better for guys like me and you. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. With that, I'll check in with you next week.